Welcome to Maple Popcorn. Today, we're diving into the remarkable journey of Cody Lightning, a versatile artist whose talent knows no limits. Born in Edmonton, Alberta, Cody began his career as a child actor. His breakthrough role as young Victor in Smoke Signals earned him recognition at the Young Artist Awards and signaled the beginning of an extraordinary career. In 2023, Cody made his directorial debut with Hey Victor, a mockumentary comedy which he wrote, directed, and took on the role of a fictionalized version of himself 25 years after his breakout role in Smoke Signals. Additionally, he showcased his acting talents by portraying the character Biscuits, a lead in Marvel's Echo series. Beyond his on-screen accomplishments, Cody is a passionate advocate for Indigenous rights, using his platform to raise awareness on social issues from Indigenous rights to environmental conservation. Join us as we explore the compelling journey of Cody Lightning, a true innovator in Canadian cinema whose talent and commitment to making a difference continues to inspire audiences around the globe. Cody Lightning, welcome to Maple Popcorn Podcast.
Conte, good to be here. Nice to meet you.
Where are you talking from? Where are you right now?
I am in my condo in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, overlooking the Saskatchewan River and the downtown. It's really beautiful.
Nice. So let me ask you this. How do you describe yourself? When people ask you what you do, who you are, what do you describe yourself?
Oh, okay. Because I was like, that. This can go in many directions. What it is, what I do. So I've done several things, jobs and career-wise throughout my life. Acting and film, and now directing and writing is the main, career path that I've been on since I was 4 years old. So I've been doing it for over 30 years. And yeah, so that's like the overhaul of what I do or who I am, I guess you can say. But I've worked youth for 6 years. I was a youth coordinator on my res. I had survival jobs that I had to do to pay rent, working in restaurants and construction sites and stuff like that when things were slow in the industry. But yeah, now as the last couple of years, things have picked up. So, however, when I'm meeting someone for the first time, I'm not the guy to say, "Oh, hi, I'm Cody. I'm an actor or I'm a filmmaker." I've never been that guy ever. Like even when I was, when I was living in New York City, when I was 18, 19 years old, and I was working at a video store, and I'd meet people and, "Oh, what do you do? Who are you?" "Oh, I'm Cody. I work at a video store." And then you'd get the look of like, "Oh, really?" Like, "Oh, that's crummy," or "That sucks." Like, okay, where's the future there? And then someone mentioned, "Oh, Cody does films and acts." And then they're like, "Oh," because I was raised in the industry, I have a different outlook on, putting myself out there as that. If someone comes up to me and says, "Oh, hey, aren't you the guy from this?" Or, "Hey, didn't you work on that?" I'll be like, "Yeah, okay. I'll take that." But usually I just introduce myself as Cody, normal person.
Do you think it's an industry thing, or do you think it's a Canadian thing of the way people introduce themselves? So now we're just we're going off track, but I was just curious.
Oh no, I think that's just anyone in the industry all around gets that. Some people love that. "Oh, I'm an artist, I'm a filmmaker, I'm an actor." Some people, would like that type of attention. Me, I'm not like that. I want to go into a place and like sit and like enjoy the game or do this without having.
Or you can just insert Canadian Screen Award nominee.
Yeah. And that.
I want to take it back to a little bit what you said previously about you started at 4. What inspired you at that point, even at that young age, to start or pursue career in acting? And is that something you always wanted to continue in?
Well, I don't know what 4-year-old says, "Mom, we're moving to LA and we're gonna make it." But yeah, my mom, Georgina Lightning, she was in a performing arts program here in Edmonton, and she was doing very well in the program. And her acting coaches and teachers said, "You are made for a place bigger than this." So she thought about New York or Los Angeles and did her research, and we moved down there. I was a toddler. I was like 4 years old when we moved down there to LA. and she was going to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and she naturally just got my siblings and myself involved in the industry, and we started as extras, getting background work just like anyone else starting out. And we're kids too, 3 young native children, so it's like, how many opportunities are we getting here? And the opportunities were few and far between. And so I got my first gig when I was 4 on Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman as an extra. My first speaking role was a film for Turner Network Television called Geronimo when I was 5. So yeah, we were only getting cast in these period pieces, or like I call leathers and feathers, or buckskin roles, so those weren't being made too often. So that's kind of how we got involved in the industry, my siblings and I. My brother doesn't act anymore. He's a writer, and he works in the trades down in Arizona. But my sister, she makes music, she performed, she had a musical that was going around called Bear Grease that was super successful, her and her husband. And yeah, so we're all still connected. And we're all completely separate. Like there's times where people ask, or say, oh, I was just with your sister last night in Montreal. And I was like, no, you weren't. They're like, yeah, last night. I was like, I was with her yesterday afternoon for lunch. You're calling, hey, where are you at? Or I went to Montreal after lunch. I hopped to Montreal, got a gig. What? And I have no clue. Like sometimes I don't even know. And people are like, you don't even know where your family is? I'm like, sometimes no. That's how I got into the industry. And so, with these long breaks in between of sometimes not getting work, and then also being a rebellious teenager, took a break and wasn't sure if this is what I want to continue to do, because it's all that I knew, right? And so I'm like, I want to do something else, and then tried a few other things. I'm like, I'm good at this and I want to continue to do it, and I love it. I fell back in love with acting and filmmaking after a good hiatus from it.
How so? Like when you have that hiatus, how do you come back from it? How do you fall back into love with it? Was there something that changed that?
Yeah, well, I was doing parts that I liked for myself, and I was helping friends and family members who are also filmmakers help create their vision. I wasn't just taking jobs for taking jobs' sake. It wasn't like I'm getting 15 auditions and it's like I'll land one and now I'm just doing it for work. I never decided to continue to be an actor and filmmaker just to continue working in the industry, even though that's a huge thing. It's like, you're an actor or filmmaker, but are you working? And sometimes when you're in a slump, I never wanted to just get jobs just for the sake of it, because that's not appealing to me. I was getting roles, with friends who wrote scripts, who were trying to make them, and now I'm a part of their project, and it's more fulfilling. And now I'm kind of, captain of the ship of my production company and the films that I'm creating, and I get to help others who are up and coming to, boast their way into the industry, and it's cool. I've never pictured that I would be in this position. But I am now, and so I'm really taking it in good stride, and with good company and a good production team, and yeah.
I've seen your work, and clearly you're a very talented and passionate storyteller, and you're clearly doing this, as you said, not just for the sake of jobs, but for the ones that speak to you the most. What is it about writing, acting, or directing that you enjoy most? I mean, especially with the kind of raw, edgy material that you have done as well. I'm wondering if you find it therapeutic in any way.
Oh, 100% therapeutic. Oh, man. So when I was younger, well into my mid-20s, I was getting very serious roles. And I'm a clown. I like joking around. I have such an inappropriate sense of humor. I'm very big on too soon jokes. I have to watch my mouth a lot because I'm like, I'm going to say something, get in trouble. But I was getting out for a lot of very serious roles. A young teenager in a psychiatric evaluation center, husband who's stranded with his wife and he tries to kill her. A young coming of age Indigenous male whose father takes his life, like very serious dramatic roles. And on sets and amongst my friends who are working in the industry, there's like, why don't you do comedy? And I was like, I'm not getting put out for that. And I was self-represented for over 15 years. I didn't have an agent, manager, nothing. I was just finding jobs on my own.
Why is that? I'm curious. Why was that? Why were you self-representing?
So I had agents all the way up until I was in my late teens, early 20s. And I said, like I was saying, go back to the roles that I was getting put out for were few and far between. Every native actor knew of the project for that year, and everyone us to that. And so now with the projects I'm creating, I'm able to get with like-minded people who have a warped sense of humor like me and create this really gnarly, dysfunctional, humorous atmosphere. And I'm very big on improv. And so I make sure that the actors know that I'm working with, that our script is guideline. Don't worry about it. Like, as long as we're going in a general direction of what's on paper, but let's play. If there's something that's not working, get rid of it. If there's something you want to add in, because that's where you get those gold moments in comedy for me. So yeah, I'm going to continue on that path. And I wrote a new script that's a little bit darker in content than Hey Victor was. In Indigenous culture and on reservations and stuff like that, there's a very dark presence, unfortunately. There is. And I've seen it, I've experienced it, I've lived it. And also in that, though, there's a laughter, there's a sense of humor that we all inherently like kind of have, you know. You could be having the darkest of times and you'll hear three aunties cackling at the top of their lungs in the background, while three people over here are crying their eyes out because there's so much stuff. And because of, you know, the certain things I've experienced in life, I want to kind of shine light on the darkness of the dysfunctional humor that we have as Indigenous people.
I want to go back to talking a little bit about Hey Victor, because I know we went past it, but you know, you wrote, directed, and you starred in it. I'm very curious what sparked the idea for this comedy, which is kind of meta as far as like I've seen it twice now. Very meta, and it feels like a movie within a movie within a movie. So I'm very curious about the backstory behind it.
Yeah. So when Smoke Signals came out, I was 12 years old, 11 or 12 years old, and it boosted me into not child stardom, because not every person had seen the film, but in the Indigenous community, I was, you know, Victor. And Simon Baker, who is my other half in there, was Thomas. So it was Victor and Thomas. And when I was a kid, a teenager into my 20s, I'd go to powwows or, you know, night markets or something, and all the natives would be, oh, hey, Victor. Oh, it's Victor. That stuck with me forever. And till now, even more so now that I made the film, Hey, Victor, so till I die. But we kind of laughed about it as a joke in my 20s. I was living in a house with about 6 other filmmakers in Boise, Idaho. And we would go out for an evening or go do something, and we would just joke like, it's a long line to get in. Ah, crap, do we want to wait in this line? It's like, well, just go to the front, tell them you're Victor, like, you know. And no one would know what that meant, no one would get that reference, but it was just funny to like act like this washed up child star who has this like pompous, arrogant, you know, sense of being around everyone. And we just laughed at that. And then Imaginative Film Festival had pitches for short films, and I was like, "What if I just pitch this as a short film and have some fun? Me and Simon Baker, maybe one or two other people, could film for a week and splice something together and submit it around to festivals, and you know, we'll have a fun little laugh with it." And we didn't win that pitch, but that was a blessing in disguise, because a lot of people in that pitch session came up and said, this is more than a short. Holy crap, this is a feature film or a series. We're like, whoa, okay. And then about a year and a half later, I got in touch with Sam Miller, my writing partner and my producer. And we went up into the mountains of Banff and locked ourselves in a cabin for a good week and got wild and crazy and pumped out the script. And yeah, when I first met Sam up here, he was doing a music video on my res, and I was introduced to him, and I was just sharing stories. He goes, "No way, like the Victor thing," and I'm like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Come to our casino, I'll show you." So we walk into our casino one night, and all my cousins, all the way, "Oh, hey, Victor, Victor," and he's like, "You weren't kidding." I was like, "Yeah, man." So we teamed up, and he's an amazing writer, and I'm an amazing storyteller. Well, no, trying to, my head's not this big, but I love telling story, and Sam's really good at structure. So that's where we teamed up, and we were able to get the script where we wanted it.
Were you always planning to direct it?
No, I wasn't actually. I'd never directed anything before, but been on several film sets. And when we were talking about potential directors, I had a few in mind, some friends that I love and I trust, and we have the same, vision usually. And we're sitting there, and I was with my other producers, where I was like, okay, so I can get this person or this person, or why are you guys all looking at me weird here? Everyone's staring at me funny. You're directing this. And I was like, no, you guys, but it's your turn. This is your baby. You're directing it. And I'm like, written, directed, starring? That's insane. They're like, but look at the film. I'm like, true. Okay. All right.
I love that you also embraced the role of Victor, especially as a child actor. You said that that's a role that stuck with you throughout your life. So I was wondering, I was curious how it shows that you loved this role so much, and even while people were embracing you for it, and you decided, hey, I'm going to continue with this and be known as Victor now forever.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It received 2 Canadian Screen Award nominations, and it was your directorial debut, as you said. How did that recognition feel?
That was amazing. I couldn't believe it. But I have this stuff from my past where I'm like, really? I'm nominated? Or really? Do I deserve this? And my mom is really big on, knock it off. Of course you do. You worked so hard. You did this. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. But to be nominated, and then when I was over there in Toronto and seeing all the other filmmakers and performers, I was like, oh man, we're in this thing. And unfortunately we didn't win anything, but just to be there and to be nominated that's a win in its own. And I said that to someone else. They're like, what if you win? I said, honestly, I feel like I've already won. Whether we take the little trophy, whatever, having a project or idea in mind and vocalizing it and getting it out there and sharing it with others and have others on board to want to create it, that's a win. And then when you write it, you're done, that's another victory. If I would have just written the script and kept it, I would have still felt like I won. Like I wrote something amazing for me, and then pitching it and getting funding, that's another win. Now we're pre-production. It was several wins in a row. So when the nominations happened for the CSAs, I was like, if we get that, that'd be like the cherry on top, because we've already accomplished so much with this, and I'm so proud of the project and everyone a part of it. I was telling the crew, it was our wrap party, and we were all giving our thank yous and hugs and oh yeah. And I got pretty emotional, and I was like, man, this has been the funnest shoot I've ever worked on. And I got to captain the ship for that. And, I've been on film sets where maybe someone gets fired, or an actor's losing it, or, maybe a director's pissed off about something. You never know. And I've seen production shut down. And just coming out of COVID and having the restriction, there was a whole new anxiety for me with that. And the casting process, all of it, like for it to have turned out the way that it did, it was a very well-oiled machine. And it was really big for me, first-time director, trusting that my crew and cast were going to show up, perform, and do their best, because I had never been in that position before. And so I was a little nervous, and my mom said, everyone is going to show up and do their job. You just have to do yours. I said, all right, fair. And I did. And so that's, and then to finish your work and have it recognized on all these levels and platforms, and we got distribution and theatrical release. I couldn't believe it. It's just one more thing. Like I said, another win after another. Like, whoa.
I have to say, very well deserved. Congratulations. If I haven't already said it to you in this podcast earlier, congratulations.
Thank you.
If you're craving more Canadian film inspiration, head over to telfilm.ca/seeitall, where you can explore a wealth of film collections available on your favorite streaming platforms. From iconic classics to exciting new releases, there's something for everyone right at your fingertips. If you're loving the insights from our esteemed guests, be sure to subscribe to the Maple Popcorn Podcast on your preferred platform, and don't forget to leave us a review. Speaking of, we are talking about the cast and crew. You have been an advocate for Indigenous rights, and you use your platform to shed light on the issues facing Indigenous communities. I love that it was also really important for you to have Indigenous representation on Hey Victor.
Yeah, of course. It's and you've heard this before. Stories by us for us. Making sure that we're telling our stories. Nothing that I say. Nothing is anything that I've kind of coined, or is it originally from me? It's all things I've experienced, heard from others, and have seen and experienced. The stuff I have created or will continue to create isn't for everyone, and I get that. But I'm not gonna make things based on what I think others will like. If I make it for myself, if I'm selfish with it for a good reason, other like-minded people and others will gravitate towards that as well. And so that's really where the heart and the soul of these projects that I'm going to be creating come from. Life experience, also knowing certain things that have happened to people, that were able to write that stuff down. And it's kind of, like I said, shining light on darkness.
That's amazing. And also I feel like the community has responded really well to the film as well because of that. And the script, obviously, but...
Yeah, and so there's different types of humor and jokes in Hey Victor. There's just the all-around joke that everyone will get. Then there's native jokes, and then there's Canadian jokes, and then there's Canadian native jokes. It gets very niche and down to when I showed it here in Edmonton, we had a packed house, 500-seat theater at the Garneau Metro Theater. I couldn't believe that many people showed up there. I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. I felt like a rock star. And the amount of laughter from the local jokes that we had in there to the Canadian Indigenous jokes, the Canadian, the overall, there was times where laughter was drowning out the next joke. And there was a part where I was like, God, you're missing the...
That is hilarious.
Such a great response. And so a lot of the youth actually that I worked with the last 6 years saw it, and I was like, oh God, I probably won't be able to work there again. They were like, holy, and on the reserve, the kids, they have a crazy sense of humor too. Some of the gnarliest stories and things I've heard and experienced come from our kids and elders. And so, yeah, to know that when I showed it even on my res, they asked me to show it during National Addictions Awareness Day. And I was like, they're like, yeah, we heard you have a film. And I was like, have you seen the film? And Addictions Awareness Day? Is this what? And they're like, yeah, we think it'll be really good. So I sent them a screener and they said, oh, everyone's going to love it. And I was like, what if it triggers? I'm a wild, belligerent, drunken, narcissistic maniac. Okay. And so it was they pressed play and I'm sitting there. I'm like, well, here we go. And they loved it.
Really amazing.
There's all these old cookums and aunties coming up to me after, with their scarves and like, oh my boy, that part when you said that joke and I saw your little wiener, I just laughed. And I'm like, cool.
That's hilarious. That's a hilarious story. Which reminds me, I was going to ask you, now that you've said that, what is the most memorable feedback that you've got from someone from the community coming up to you and, having shared your film with them?
We've had all good feedback. I think, to be honest, we have some edgy jokes in there, but I have a joke about residential school, right? Which was a horrific, traumatic thing that my grandparents, my Muslims and Cookums experienced, and it's heavily impacted us. And we have that little residential school joke in there. And every time that joke comes up, I go, oh, let's hear it. And it was a Q&A one time in Vancouver, I believe it was in Vancouver. And a woman stood up and she's like, yeah, I just want to say something about that residential school joke. And I was like, oh God, she's probably like, she's going to give me shit right now. She's going to give me crap for, you know, the joke. And she's like, I love that. That was hilarious. And I was like, yes, cool. And that's the thing with humor is you got to be willing to go there. You got to be able to push the boundaries. And sometimes that makes people uncomfortable. But for other feedback, it's been all just great. One review on it I really liked was this person said, Cody Lightning and Hannah Cheeseman are like the Tasmanian Devil and Bugs Bunny. And I was like, oh. Yeah.
That's hilarious. That was an actual review?
Yeah. After our Tribeca world premiere in New York.
Mm-hmm. It must be really nice. You must also be getting a lot from the community about how you want to change how Indigenous films are being portrayed in media, in cinema, on the big screen, and you're part of that change.
Yeah. So with that, but I'm entering at a different time. Like I've been in the film industry for over 30 years, but now as a filmmaker, there's others that have paved the way before me. Black Horse Low, Sterling Harjo, Jeff Barnaby, and those are like my close bros. Late Jeff passed away, but you know, they were doing it before me. I was acting for them, and now, you know, I get to be a part of creating something different. And my stuff is not safe, right? I'm not, like I said, I'm not making it, I'm not going to go pitch an idea to someone that's nice and comfortable. Like, oh, everyone's going to enjoy it. It's going to make some people feel uncomfortable. That's the whole point, is telling whatever story you want and not being silenced. So that's where I'm honored and blessed to be a part of this next level of forward, you know, progress with our stories and the filmmaking process.
And I imagine that the landscape is also changing with not just the films being made, but the roles being available to Indigenous actors as well.
Yeah, especially with contemporary content. Not just, like I said, the leathers and feathers, the old school traditional period pieces. Great, love them, continue to make them. Some projects are very informative, and a lot of traumatic things. Projects being made based around trauma, and I want to make projects based around trauma. But how about we joke about some of this trauma? Let's laugh about some of it. Not like certain things are funny, but there are jokes in there. That's where my brain goes always. Well, there's a joke in here somewhere, and you know, I stopped holding myself back from full expression the way I do about 3.5 years ago. I mean, if you're in my close circle of friends, we're all wild and crazy. We're all trying to outdo one another with jokes, but just like generally in public and stuff like that, I've been living more unapologetically, because I've had friends and people close to me pass away that were very close to me the last few years in really harsh ways. And it flipped my world upside down. And I was like, what's my purpose here? What am I doing? Why am I going to hold back? I'm not going to live with regrets or shoulda, woulda, couldas. No. And I'm going to go full force and create what the hell I want to. That's what I'm saying. We've had great response. There was one person at this event who came up, and there's so many people there, and she taps Hannah Cheeseman on the shoulder, and she goes, Hannah, I loved you in Hey Victor. You were the best part of it. And she looks over at me, and she gets down and up, and she gives me I do not support your work, and I'm a big supporter of Canadian content, but I am not a fan. And she gave me the stink eye and walked away, and I was like,
well, there's just one person. No, that's just one person, but wow. Wow, okay.
Who does that? I don't know. Part of me was like a little upset, but then another part of me was like, I kind of respect it. You know, just that's an edgy move.
I want to talk a little bit about another role of yours on Marvel's Echo series. You play a character called Biscuits, and that's a whole new character in the Marvel universe. So I'm curious how gratifying it was it for you to play a character sort of like a blank canvas.
I when I got cast for Echo, I was like, wait, what? I got it. And that was just after we shot Hey Victor. We're in post production, and then I got that audition, and I didn't think I got it. Like a month went by after the initial audition, and I was like, someone else probably got it. And then I got the call, and I was like, what? So first, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God, it's Marvel. It's Marvel. Is he a superhero? Like, what's my role gonna be? Like, do I gotta get buff? I gotta beard. I gotta start working out. Instantly, I'm like, I gotta go to the gym. Like, what do I do? Like, freak. And then when I was meeting with Sydney, the director, and a lot of the other producers, Sid was like, we love everything about you. And I was like, the beard, the scruffiness, they're like, yep. And I was like, wow, all right. And I got to play with that character of Biscuits quite a bit, which was so fun. You could be a part of a certain project or working for a specific company or director that's very strict on exactly what they want. And then there's some that are, let's allow our actors to play. And Sydney allowed me to do that. And the whole Marvel crew allowed me to like play with Biscuits a lot. So that was fun. And then, yeah, working down there in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia in the summertime. Ooh, that was hot, brutal heat. I don't know who decided, I don't know how the athletes play sports down there. Oh gosh, it was brutal. And my air conditioner went out in my place one day, and I was like, I thought I was going to die.
Wow. But it feels like you're a Marvel fan because I just noticed the posters are behind you and it's a lot of Marvel comics, a little bit.
A lot of the old ones, a lot of the older Marvel comics.
Yeah.
So I've watched pretty much all the Marvel movies. I wasn't so much into the comics until recently. I'm not going to lie about that, but I have my Eric Pipestem. He's one of my best friends, and he was my comic book advisor. When he's like, okay, so here he didn't know anything about the script, and I was still learning. He goes, so Echo came from this, and he's telling me like where everything comes into play. And he was like my go-to for questions. Like, what about this character? He goes, oh, that character came in here. He's my go-to nerd.
Well, you did a brilliant job, especially when you have a blank canvas for a character, you can play with it. And as you said, that kind of freedom, you rarely get that, especially on a bigger project. So that's great.
And the role of Biscuits too, he had his dog Billy Jack. And so to be able to work with a dog like that, and then learning ASL, that was amazing. It's rusty now, but yeah, being fully immersed in that, like there was several deaf crew, producers, actors. So it was a whole new world for me. And whether my character comes back, I don't know, but that was a once in a lifetime opportunity.
You mentioned the cast and crew as well from there. So I was very, kind of curious, having been both in front of and behind the camera, and now you've worked US and Canadian crews. What do you think is particularly unique about Canadian filmmaking, especially when you compare it to the US?
A unique thing with Canadian film and between Canada and the US is Canada's a whole lot better. I'm just kidding.
Obviously.
I had never heard certain terms that I had. This is silly, but like calling a meal or like something substantial. I hadn't heard that before. Or may I is a big thing in here in Canada. Like may I before they talk to you. And I was used to hustle and bustle in the States. Like, yes, hey, I want that. Hey, up here, everyone's so much more polite. Like, may I ask you a question? It's like, yeah, just ask me the question. Like, or like, it was silly to me. And some people might be like, really? That's the difference, is calling a snack or craft service a substantial. And I'd never heard that term before. And someone was like, "Hey, Cody, so we're getting ready for substantials." I was like, "Substantial what?" Like, what substantial? I'm like, substantially, like what? What do you mean substantial? I'm like, substantials. I'm like, all right, leave me alone. I don't know what you're talking about. It's a snack. And I'm like, oh, that's what they call it? Okay. Just little things here and there. But for me personally, being able to write, direct, make films here in Alberta, where I'm from, is heaven. Like, I want to tell the stories from here, from my experience and stuff like that. And yeah, it's going to resonate with not just Alberta, but all of Canada and pretty much North America, the world. But a lot of people in Canada, like I said, the jokes and humor I have in my projects are very Canadian.
Did you have to rally a lot to greenlight this project?
Well, we pitched it around to a few different companies, distributors, but because we were first timers, technically, I'm a first timer. They're like, you've acted in several projects, but never directed. So all these little checklists. And then Sam, who co-wrote with me, you've written New York Times top 10 novels and books, but never a script. And one of my producers has produced several plays and stuff in theater, but never a film. So we were all just one off, and it was tough. And then Telefilm, they said, we like it, we'll gamble on you. And I was like, what? So when they hopped on board, it was, a few others came on board as well. And now that we've completed the project and it's doing well, we submitted my next script, and hopefully we hear back very soon. Hopefully going to camera and shooting that next February and March. It's a really rugged Indigenous hockey film about a teenage U18 hockey team and their journey as young Native athletes.
Oh, nice. And are you going to write, direct, and star? Is that the plan? Or
I co-wrote this one again, and I will be acting, and I will act, but way smaller part. I will never. Victor was a one and done for me as far as
really
wearing all those hats. That was at the end of each day, my brain was scrambled eggs. I was just like, I'd go to bed. Oh yeah, wait, when are we gonna film this, and that? They're like, we filmed that yesterday. Oh yeah, cool. Okay. And then there was so much going on because I'm in almost every shot, right? So we were getting through 10 to 12 pages per day. So by the end of the day, I'm like, everyone's hanging out, chatting about, I'm like, I'm going to bed, wake up the next day, we do it again. So that was a lot, but I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I experienced it. But this next project, I'll most likely I'll have a way smaller part. I want to these young Indigenous athlete actors.
Oh, nice. So let me ask you this, since you mentioned that when spearheading your project was a lot, what is something that it is, acting, directing, spearheading, and making your own project, something that people think it is that it isn't?
Glamorous. It's very, very stressful. And I've said this to a few people. There's a big misconception of movie stars or people that are celebrities or famous. Everyone's rich, right? Rich with flavor, rich with life, rich with experience. But you have to put in a lot of work. And some people, I have nieces and nephews like, Uncle, Mr. Movie Star, like I'm Scrooge McDuck, just swimming in tons and tons of money, right? I am an independent filmmaker. Like, I am looking to make my project.
Very different, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you can do it. You're rich. And I'm like, oh, really?
So having been, you've been in the industry for so long, for over 30 years, and you've seen the highs and lows, you've done your project yourself. What advice would you give to aspiring filmmakers who are looking to break into the industry?
Go into the trades. Work construction. I'm just kidding.
Fabulous.
Workshops, and there's a difference between nowadays, because of social media, you can be quote unquote famous with your phone.
Mm-hmm.
be a star on the social media platforms and have fame? Or do you want to be a part of a real artistic, creative, not to say that that isn't, so I don't want any people on social media platforms to be like, what did you say? Um, but do you want to experience the art and the craft of acting? Do you want to experience the art and the craft of filmmaking? It's very stressful. It's very stressful. You put in a lot of hours and you do it because you love it. Um, if you catch a break and you're making big money, then that is amazing. But you put in a lot of hours and you make a lot of sacrifice. And I've had some very dark times in my life of like depression, like, oh gosh, I can't do this. And so to be ready for a heavy workload, to be ready for rejection, that's a big one. Rejection. And luckily, I learned that at a very young age, auditioning, nope, getting rejected. And so now I can accept that. But if you're like, a young kid from the reserve and you want to experience this and you get told you think you're doing
Mm-hmm.
a great job, let's say you have an audition, you feel like you nailed it and you get told, nope, that can kind of crush you a little bit. It's like, well, I don't know if I want to do this. And it could be a little harsh. And it's different now. It's a lot more cushioned these days, I feel, because everything is getting brought to you from your technology. You can audition with a self-tape
Right, self-tape. Yeah.
where to audition in person in front of a casting director or with other actors, which adds a nervousness to it. And it's not necessarily nowadays about like a wit and a charm in person. It's all through digital. It's through meetings on Zooms and stuff like that. And that's how I cast Hey Victor, was through Zoom. I never did that before. Been a part of it on either end, so to get the chemistry down. But for the young and up and coming filmmakers, do not be afraid to tell your story. And I know it's tough when you're trying to get funding to not change what you want, your story, and be firm on it. It's easier for me to say from my stance on it and my perspective, because I've accomplished something now that's great. But I see people who fold their projects because they're getting told no, because they're not getting funding because of the content. And it's so unfortunate. So hopefully when I get more credits under as a director, I can fund those projects down the line, hopefully, or
Mm-hmm.
help produce them to get them made. There's so many beautiful stories that don't fit into the norms of what's acceptable. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something I've seen my whole life. So when I see a rare gem of something that's edgy, pushy, raunchy, foul, vulgar, anything, I love it. So stick to who you are and get a great team behind you. And yeah, don't take no for an answer. I know it's kind of cliche for me to say, if I could do it, you could do it. But like
Yeah.
I I'm a Neanderthal in a lot of ways with technology. I'm always like, good. My friends are like, really, Cody? I'm like, They're like, you're like an old man. I'm like, ah. Like I had a flip phone up until a few years ago, and so
No way.
I had a flip phone up until, and now new cool flip phones are out, and I kind of want to go that direction. But yeah, having people that you can trust and share your
Mm-hmm.
stories and vision with, and then vice versa. Um, yeah. And then the last thing I would say is also to be careful of who you share your stuff with. The snakes.
Okay, this is where I'm thinking whether I should ask a follow-up to that or not. Okay, good to know.
No, there's certain people I trust 100%, a select few, but it's trial and error
Mm-hmm.
that I share anything with, and they give me the yay or nay. And then some, it's like, really? Why this? Oh, that doesn't make, oh, that's stupid. And I'm like, ugh. So yeah, and there's people that could try to get involved in a project and completely change the direction. And
Mm.
yeah, it's tough because everyone wants their opinion, their view on it to go,
Their voice, yes, exactly.
really to show support to the creators, the writer, the director, and the vision, the path that they have. And so if everyone's on board with that, that's awesome. And also do ceremony.
Always stick to your vision. That's great. We'll leave this podcast with one last question. I will ask you, what is the legacy you want with your body of work, Cody Lightning?
A wider path for those that are coming after me, and the same way that those came before me did. You know, I wouldn't be where I'm at if those before me didn't do what they did. So I'm here to give the gift that I was given. So whatever that means as far as legacy is, you know, I've been given a gift, and it's my job. What I'm doing right now is utilizing that gift the best that I can for myself. And then I'm giving it away. Here, you use it, you take it, and you do it better than me. So my legacy to just leave a cool mark on this industry that I'm able to be a part of in storytelling and filmmaking for the younger generation to be like, I want to do bigger and better, because that's what we're supposed to do. Everything's supposed to be bigger and better. My kids are going to be better than me, and there's better than them. And I want to see it get bigger, bolder, and yeah.
I love that. That's a beautiful response. I love that. Well, congratulations again, Cody. And thank you so much for joining us on this podcast and sharing your insightful feedback.
Thank you so much. Hi.
Thank you. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Maple Popcorn Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to us on your preferred platform, give us a rating, and leave us a review. The Maple Popcorn Podcast is produced by The Brand is Female and powered by Telefilm Canada. For more Canadian film inspiration, please visit telefilm.ca/see-it-all. I'm your podcast host, Mariska Fernandez, and thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to follow Telefilm Canada and The Brand is Female on all social media platforms.